areas.
Okay, he's gonna do it. He's gonna go for it.
Yep.
Between concrete walls, there's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
Do you want to follow? Do you want to follow? Do you want to follow? Do you? Do y'all want to follow Tommy down this Dugadive? I made this video for people who say, no, this video, Alex hasn't screwed up. I told Alex to leave. Here, wait a second. Let's make this accurate. Hang on. There we go. I told Alex to leave this up. I made this video for people because every time Rotor Riot posts a video, there's always a few people who are like, the old cast was better. DugaDive was better. So I made this for you. If you're one of those people, you're probably not watching. Well, you might be watching my stream. Some people watch my streams who don't like Rotor Riot. We're different people. That's fine. If you do miss the old DugaDive, I have a 10-hour cut of this that you can watch, and you can really just like appreciate how good old Rotor Riot was. I wonder, is he going to get out this time? If you watch it enough times, he actually gets out. Let's see. If you watch the loop enough times, let's keep watching. Hello, everybody. I'm Joshua Bardwell, and you're going to learn something today. Welcome to the live stream. It's Sunday afternoon. It's Sunday evening for y'all in Europe. Down here in the South, we say y'all. In Tennessee, when I moved from Georgia to Tennessee, there's a lot of regional variation in the way that the second person plural is pronounced. In Georgia, they say y'all. In Tennessee, they also say y'all, but they say yins. Yins. Yins gonna go. Yins gonna be there. Yins. Youans. There you go. I'm a little more audio volume. Is my mic a little low? Hang on a second. I can fix that. Alex, will you turn up the mic, please? 67, 66, 71, 72. How about there's a little more? Maybe turn up your volume. Maybe turn up your audio volume, huh? Why should I have to turn my audio volume? Why don't you turn your audio up? Huh? I'm peaking. Now you got me peaking. Where was I? Welcome to the live stream, everybody. It's Sunday afternoon. Y'all in Europe watching this stream. Here's the way it's going to work, folks. If you're new here, say hello. This is how it's going to work. You guys are going to be right here. License to drive. Your laptop volume is... You got to turn your... laptops sometimes... Okay, it's okay. It's all good. Here's the questions. You guys are going to ask questions right here in the pleb chat. This is the plebs. You guys, just anybody can get in. There's no standards. Anybody can get in here. They can ask questions, and I will do my best to answer them. But, wow, they go. Hello, Mike Borgstrom from Sweden. Borgstrom. Whenever I say the name of a Swedish, or, I always want to put umlauts on vowels where there are none. It's my thing. Stream quality 0. I don't know why stream quality is 0. My YouTube thinks my stream is good. Over here, right here is the super chat. If you want to get your question called out, hit the $sign. There's normally a $sign right here, but there isn't one for me, and I don't know why. But if you look right here, there should be a $sign. If you want to give a super chat, that gets your question pulled out. Ken Heron starting us off in style. Ken always shows up for my live streams, and he throws me super chats. It's super nice of him. I feel a little bit bad. I haven't given him any super chats on his live streams. I should go check him out. Ken Heron, a really, really excellent YouTuber. A little more over on the DJI side, which is now, of course, Ken, you're coming over to the FPV side. Now the DJI is going to destroy the whole FPV market and take it over. So welcome to our new DJI overlords, I guess. Ken and I are talking about doing a collab in November. Ken doesn't know this, but it's possible I have a DJI Mavic Mini coming on the way. And I figured maybe that would be a good opportunity for him and me to collab on something, since he knows so much about DJI. We'll see if that pans out. One way or another, Ken and I are going to do something in November. So thank you for your donation, Ken. He's coming to help me, and he's going to pay me. Bitrate looks bad. I don't know. Here's all I know, guys. All I know is YouTube says it's getting enough bit rates from me. So check this out. See right here? This says YouTube feels like it's getting the number of bits that it needs from me. I don't know what to. OneDrive is closed. I got that. I don't know. Maybe somebody else is using my internet. Over here on the left. Do you want to? Is my Discord. This is my Discord server. If you, the DugaDive is making my head spin. Hello, Thumper. Hello. I don't know how to pronounce this name, but hello. Good to have you. Thumper, MBFPV. These guys over here are all my patrons. That's why their names show up in green, because they give a couple bucks a month. And if you want to join them in my Discord server, there's a link to my Patreon down in the video description. That is going to do it for the intro. Now let's get to the content. And the first thing that everybody wants to know about is my giveaway. Where's my... Oh, they're behind me. I'm not going to go get them. I'm giving away my HDO goggles and a Bite Frost, or I'm giving away a DJI goggle and 2 air units, the DJI FPV Experience Combo. And a lot of you guys are here on the live stream because you want me to draw the winner, and you think I'm going to do that now. But the giveaway doesn't end until midnight tonight. So the good news is you still have time to get in on the giveaway. The bad news is I can't draw the winner because it hasn't ended yet. You got to wait for the cutoff. So I may do the, maybe I'll do the giveaway on tomorrow's live stream, but I probably will also just post it as a separate video because, like, not everybody watches the live streams. Tonight's drink, Diet Coke. I drink Diet Coke because Taylor Swift endorses Diet Coke. And I think we should all strive to be more like Tay-Tay. Alrighty. Tony Briz, nothing more American than watching the JB live stream on a Sunday. Forget about football. Tony, first of all, this is the European live stream, so when you say football, I assume you mean soccer. And second of all, they don't play football on Sundays because it's not the American stream. Okay. All right, guys. Ever FPV says, guys, don't bother to enter the giveaway. I'm going to win it. Let me tell you something, guys. This is the current status of the giveaway. Oh, hang on. We don't need it. Y'all don't need this. This can go. There we go. Sidebar doesn't need to be there. This is the current status of the giveaway. 13,708 responses. Yikes. That's a pretty big... Now you see why I did it in the Google form instead of with the comments on the YouTube. 13,000 responses. Still, your chances of winning are better than if you bought a lottery ticket. Let's just put that out of the way. Notice also the Fat Shark is winning. Now, tell me about this. You guys let me know in the comments. I really thought it was going to be like 75% DJI, 25% Bite Frost. I mean, I don't know how the exact number was going to break down, but I really assumed that because Bite Frost is admittedly an unfinished product. DJI is a finished product, and I assumed that people would think, I'd like to try DJI, but I can't afford it, but hell, as long as Bardwell's going to give me the equipment, I'll take it. Why do you think people are picking the HDO more than the DJI? Does that surprise you? It surprised me, I'll be honest. Maybe it's because people are like, I want Bardwell's goggles. It's like a celebrity item. I don't know. I'll tell you this, though. When I came up with the idea to do the giveaway in this exact way, I'll admit that part of my motivation was to go, oh, you guys, you say you hate DJI, but look, when you got the chance to win one, suddenly you're hypocrites. All the people are like, I hate DJI. I wouldn't take DJI if you gave it to me. Well, it turns out you're not hypocrites, whoever you are. HDO will work well with your other drones, and you don't have to switch all of them over. That is true. That is true. JB Goggles. I picked the DJI system, says RC for Life, but only because I already ordered the Attitude V5s. I would never purchase a DJI system with my own money, says RC for Life. Who doesn't want the purple goggles? DJI is shady as a company. You know, Boots FPV, some people feel that way, but I just assumed that you would feel that way right up until somebody offered to give you some goggles for free, and then you would be like, well, I mean, I'll try them. Apparently not. So, to all of you guys out there who are like, I don't like DJI, and then you pick the HDOs, you get to actually say you stood by your principles. That's kind of cool. Navy FPV says purple, not my color. Yeah, okay. I asked Fat Shark, can you send, because the shell on the HDO2s, here are the HDO2s, my new daily driver. These are, I mean, if you have a set of HDOs, they're not bad goggles, but these are better. Sorry. I asked Fat Shark, can you send me a couple of shells so I can get them colored? and they're going to do that. I think I'm going to pick a slightly different color. The color that I got wasn't exactly the color that I thought it was going to be. I still like it, but I think I'm going to try something different. We'll see. Bite Frost for me says needs more too. I pre-ordered the HDO2s. You just got to be careful because Bite Frost is a cool product, 100%. But like, let's say you say I'm all in on Bite Frost. Okay, well you buy it. Now you have one VTX. Now you want another VTX. You can't buy the VTX separately. You can only buy the whole kit as of today. So it's just not at a point where you could really commit to it yet. Eventually. Yeah, Nicholas Hansen, thanks for pointing out. I also have these Vaz antennas. Now, I tried different antennas. Like I've had a Luminaire Axie on here for a long time and really liked it. But I also, I always like to try different things. So this is a Vaz Crosshair Extreme. Crosshair, I think, is the best directional antenna. It's bigger than a patch, but patch antennas are inherently inefficient because of the PCB. They can be made more efficient, but they have an inherent loss of efficiency. These crosshair antennas are inherently more efficient than a patch antenna. I think they're very good directional. I actually have something else that's cool. Hang on. Where did it go? Where the bleep did it go? Nope. All right. There's another cool antenna, but I can't find it. Oh, well. How many Bite Frosts were manufactured to start, asks Clark Checkits. Clark, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know, and I suspect if anyone told me, I wouldn't be allowed to tell you, but I don't actually know the answer. Black Raisin says, Bite Frost is like early access for games. You're paying to alpha beta test something. You are 100% right, Black Raisin. Here's what we got to do is we got to give Fat Shark credit for telling you up front that that's what's happening. You can choose to opt in or not, and many people did. At least they were honest about it. They could have just released it and said, yay, Bite Frost, and then never done a second run and screwed you. And so kudos to Fat Shark for not doing that. Thomas Bird Jr. wants to know where I got this chair. Thomas, this is you can buy it on Amazon. It's the cheapest gaming chair on Amazon. In Drone Productions says he heard they made 500 Bite Frosts. I don't know if that's true or not. Let's try to get some questions. So that's usually I do a little bit of news of the day, but there's not so much news today. It's probably news. I just don't know what any of it is. The HDO2 was big news. I got something on my screen. Orca. Enzo Pedrera asks, Orca? Yeah. I got to say, I haven't heard from Orca this week, but I have to think that the guys at Orca, when the HDO2 got announced, I have to think. So here's what I imagine Orca's year went like. January, Orca's at CES. Top of the world. Everyone loves them. Everyone's excited. Yay! June or whenever it was. When did DJI come out? It wasn't June. It was later. July, August, something. DJI comes out. Well, at least we could still be the best analog goggle out there. Fat Shark announces the HDO2. Well, we could still be the best analog goggle out there. I mean, I'm sure if you're Orca, you're like, well, here are the reasons we're better than the HDO2. But it's obvious from the specs, the HDO2 is just a shot right across the bow of Orca. And Fat Shark didn't drop the ball on this one. They got a lot of things right, and the HDO2s are a solid goggle. Is Orca dead now, asks Copter Flights. I would never say that. I will say this. Orca's decision to do the Kickstarter and get all your money before because if they hadn't done the Kickstarter, how many people, raise your hand in the chat, raise your hand, how many people would not have bought the Orca you would have just bought an HDO2 and gotten on with your life. So the fact that they sold the Kickstarter while interest was high, and now they have the chance to survive the initial wave of hype about the HDO2 and try to make their case to the next wave of customers that Orca deserves to be in the market. So kudos to them. Whoever did that Kickstarter, that turns out to have been a brilliant freaking move. I think if they hadn't done the Kickstarter, they would have a hard time selling enough to make their investment worth it. They have VC money. They've said that. And they did the Kickstarter, which hopefully covered their first few rounds of goggles. At that point, they probably will be able to make a few hundred goggles or more, get them into customers' hands, and start to build a base. If they hadn't done the Kickstarter, I would be really concerned for them. Nabi FPV wants to know, what if both winners pick the same thing? The way the giveaway is going to work, Nabi, is the first winner will get their choice. The second winner will get the leftover. That's how it's going to work. Let's get some questions. No, it's a Diet Coke, not a Budweiser. Full release of Bite Frost will be 1 kilowatt, right? I sure hope so. 1 watt. You mean 1 watt, not 1 kilowatt. I hope so. I'd love to see. I think that's a way that Bite Frost can close the gap with DJI in terms of range. Bite Frost is only operating at 450 milliwatts. I assume there's a good reason for that. But Fat Shark is at 700 milliwatts. If Bite Frost could get up to 700 milliwatts to a watt, I think they would close the gap in range. Current hardware can't do that power, says 507RC. Yeah, that's the problem. Maybe need a larger unit. Maybe need some cooling. JB edits. Okay, so here's the big question. And this is the last thing. And then we're going to stop talking about... I keep looking at the chat and looking for a question to answer. And the questions keep being about DJI. So I'm gonna answer this one question. And then we're going to move on and talk about something other than DJI versus Fat Shark. Here's the big question. If you or let's imagine that you are starting from scratch. You've just gotten into FPV. And you have to make the decision to buy DJI or Fat Shark. Or analog. Let's say DJI or analog. Let's not assume you're going to get Fat Shark goggles just because you go analog. And this is not a hypothetical because people are emailing me and messaging me and asking this question. This is a very real question. And I find it really hard to answer. Because if you don't fly micros, like nothing below 3 inches, let's say, and if you don't have any friends, then it seems like DJI is the obvious choice. Speaking purely from the perspective of your experience as a pilot. If you go, oh yeah, but I want to support Fat Shark because they've been there since the beginning. I don't like DJI because I think they're scummy. That's like, obviously that's going to be a deal breaker for you. But speaking purely from the perspective of flight experience, then DJI is the way to go. But if you have friends... Like, even just this weekend, I was flying with Scarecrow FPV, James Pellegrini, came and did some photographs for me for my website. And we hung out. We flew for a couple hours as well. And I was flying a quad with DJI on it because I needed some shots for a video. And even just sitting there with him, like normally, the way it works when two people are flying is when he flies, I'll watch him, and when I fly, he'll watch me, and we'll chat and spectate and be like, oh, you hit the gate, oh, go for that little gap over there. It's a very, very very interactive experience, social experience. But I had the DJI goggles on, and he had his analog goggles on, and it was just like we were just kind of doing our own thing in separate rooms, kind of ignoring each other. I don't know how you put a value on that. So I think as you dial it down, I'm trying to make that decision, one or the other. The ability to go to micros like tiny whoops. If you live somewhere with a long winter and you fly whoops all winter, analog starts to pull ahead. Yes, the DJI goggles can receive analog. I'm not going to weigh in on that just yet, whether that has too much latency or whatever. And see, I haven't given you the answer. There you go. Alrighty. Let's stop talking about DJI for the whole live stream. Let me get some super chats out of the way because a bunch of super chats have come in. I wanted to make sure I get them. Ken Heron, thanks for $10. Sunny FPV, thanks for $2. How am I doing, JB? I'm doing good, Sunny. Villamil, thanks for €2. How to get started with quad tuning. I'm new. Villamil, if you are new as a pilot, don't think about tuning. Really, I know this is not the answer you're hoping for. Pardon me. As a new pilot, I get people who send me videos, and it's just them flying around a field, barely not crashing. Or maybe they've got, they could and do a loop. Oh boy! Oh, so exciting! If that's who you are, then don't worry about PID tuning. You're just not there yet, right? It's like saying, what's the optimal air pressure for my tires? If you're only going 5 miles an hour, it kind of doesn't matter. So don't focus on tuning. Get your rates dialed in. Get your rates dialed in to something you really works for you. And maybe play with feed forward in the PID tuning tab to change the stick feel. But other than that, until you get to the point where you're pushing the quad to the point where the tuning really matters, you're just not there. Blake, thanks for $2 Canadian. Thank you. Matt Wheat, thanks for $5 US. I have the Hobbywing flight controller with Betaflight 4.1. My OSD flickers and flashes when armed. It gets worse at higher throttle. Matt Wheat, the issue you're having is that electrical noise from the motors or ESCs really, but same thing. Electrical noise is disrupting the sync pulses from the camera, which is causing the OSD to not line up right with the frame and flicker. You can sometimes fix this by changing how your camera and VTX are powered. If they're powered from VBAT, move them to a 9-volt regulator, assuming your flight controller has one. If they're powered from a 9-volt regulator, sometimes it works to move them to VBAT, although that usually makes things worse. If you have a VTX with a 5-volt output, move the camera to the 5-volt output of the VTX instead of the flight controller. Move the ground wire from the camera to the same place as the ground wire from the VTX. Isolate your SMA connector for your antenna from the frame. These are all things that you can do. And they don't always all work, but those are some things you can do. Harold Chrome, thanks for €10. Harold is my #1 fan. Thank you. Ho Operator, thanks for $10. Just want to thank you. I successfully built a 5-inch quad from following your videos. Now I just need some goggles. Join the giveaway over on my channel. Join the giveaway. I assume you have. Supercell FPV, thank you for, wow! Supercell FPV is looking, I appreciate your $40 donation. So let's talk about this off stream. Supercell is trying to get his goggles colored like mine. My custom purple goggles are actually not paint, they're Cerakote. A guy said, hey, I do Cerakote for a living. Send them to me. I'll do it for free. And I said, that's really looks good. What would you charge to do that for anybody else? He's like $60, $80. And I was like, oh, and nobody went for it. So let's talk about that off stream, Supercell. Venom Splat, thanks for $5. On my Bite Frost, all OSD functions work except RSSI. Well, Venom Splat, you got to get RSSI working on your flight controller before it can work in your OSD. I'm going to guess, Venom Splat, if you will message me on Facebook Messenger, the exact answer to your question depends on what receiver you've got. So message me on Facebook Messenger and we'll talk about it. Ollie H, thanks for 5 CHF. Shut up and take my money. MC's Creations, 10 reais from Brazil. I hope TBS and Rush FPV realize Bite Frost VTX is soon. Venom Splat, $5. Same question. Message me, Venom Splat. Woo! How's the iFlight Sedora? Asks Renato Cortez in the pleb chat. The Sedora, my review of the Sedora and the Nazgul is shot and sent to, I have a guy who helps me with my editing sometimes, gives me more time to make videos. So it's sent to the editor. He should be starting on it, I think, Monday, and it should come out this week, I hope. I've been wanting to get this out for a while. I have flown both of these. I'll give you a little teaser. I actually think the Nazgul flew better than the Sedora. And the reason is the Sedora is 1700 kV motors, which on 6S is about 2550 kV. The Nazgul is 2750 kV motors and lighter by about 30 grams dry weight. And I just felt like the Nazgul was more, even though it was on 4S, it was lighter, it had a smaller battery. When I took the GoPro off the Sedora, and it comes with 5140 props, which are way under propped for that motor. So I put some like 5048 props on it, and I took the GoPro off the Sedora. Then the Sedora was like, oh, this is way better. But as shipped, I felt like the Nazgul was actually a little better. Watch for the full review coming soon. Wesley Chen can't get RSSI working on his XM Plus. Here's the answer, Wesley. Wesley, I'm going to refer you to a video from a guy who has not been on the internet for a while because he passed away, but his videos are still useful. This is a video about how to set up RSSI on your XM Plus from Project Blue Falcon. XM Plus doesn't ship with RSSI on channel 16 by default, Blue Flyer, unless FreeSky changed that. Did FreeSky start shipping the XM Plus with the RSSI firmware already on it? I don't know about that. How about the Discord? Hey, Discord, sorry I ignored you for so long. We're a half hour into the stream, and I've almost ignored you the whole stream. Not quite the whole stream. Sterlingy, Terraphobia, $40 more. Oh, Chamer. Chamer is looking for the shell for his HDO2s. Should I get the Mamba F4 or the F7? Which is more future-proof? $40 more. Mr. Despar, I don't know how the F7 Mamba could be $40 more than the F4. I wouldn't pay $40 to go from an F4 to an F7, though. If that's true. Let's see here. See, the problem with the Discord is that, oops, wrong window. The problem with the Discord is here these people are trying to help get F-port working with telemetry. And instead, you know, the question gets asked and then boom, the chat jumps in and is already there helping him. Tom in the Discord, thanks for being a patron, Tom, wants to know what's more usable, a tighter or looser stick setup in terms of spring tension. So, Tom, here's what I'll say. And I've tried them both. A tighter spring tension is, I think, more controllable. Because if you think about it, the more spring tension there is, the easier it is for you to make precise movements. Little finger wiggles, if you have very stiff springs, they'll kind of prevent little finger wiggles from moving the stick. A loose spring tension, it's very easy to kind of wiggle the stick just a little and make the quad move when you didn't intend to. But with most gimbals, with all but the very highest end gimbals, when you turn the spring tension up, the centering also gets super stiff. So the problem is that if you have a high spring tension, then if you're doing, let's say you're doing a move from like left yaw to right yaw, okay, like a slalom, or even better, like a freestyle move where you want to be smooth. As you transition through the center, there'll be a stutter, and that's visible in the footage. For me personally, I prefer a looser spring because it means I can get smoother movements through the center. So that's my personal take on it. I will say, like Corey Tabb, Cricket FPV, he has super stiff spring tension. He flies pretty good and pretty smooth, but it's just a matter of preference, I suppose. Will Price, thank you for being a patron, Will. Will in the Discord asks, any advice for dealing with the adrenaline shakes when flying? Will, I still get those. I think all pilots do, especially when something is at stake. The answer is just to do it until it becomes normalized. It's unfamiliarity that gives you the adrenaline shakes. You just have to, you know, the first time you're at a race, even if it's a little local race with 4 guys, your heart starts pounding. The 50th time you're at a race, you just get up and do it. And it's just a matter of practice. I will say that there are techniques you can use, like breathing techniques and stuff to calm down. Like those techniques are useful not just when you're racing, but in anywhere in life. You can look for ways to deal with that. But the number one thing to do is to just get familiar and do it more until it becomes normal for you and it's no longer no longer stressful. Tom says, regarding spring tension, I thought of tighter settings, but compensated looser ones with RC Expo. The problem is that I pitch when I roll or yaw when I throttle and vice versa. Yeah, Tom, what you're talking about is you mean to move the roll stick, but if the springs are too loose, as you move the roll stick, you bump on the pitch axis. That's absolutely a problem. And in fact, if you start watching black box logs or if you have a stick overlay in your OSD, you will see yourself do that and you'll surprise yourself. I have a problem when I throttle up that I also yaw right accidentally. It just takes a lot of focus to get over that, but stiffer springs do help deal with that. Sean Hales, how's your Acrobat build coming along? Oh my God, my Acrobat build. So I will say this. The Acrobat build video is finished, but the Acrobat build, in case you didn't know, I started working on an Acrobat build. I started getting parts for it probably a month ago or more, and I have finished the build, but it was a bit of a mess. I'm still going to put the videos out, but a couple things went wrong. Number one, Tommy released the Acrobat V2, so the frame that I'm using is no longer current. That's good news, though, because the Acrobat V1, I wanted to put the Runcam hybrid in it, and the Acrobat V1, it's hard to get a hybrid style, a split style camera in it, especially the hybrid, because it's so I really should have built it with the Acrobat V2. So the other thing is that the flight control stack I used was sent by iFlight. I asked them if they would send one. They sent me one. It turns out it was a prototype. I didn't know it was a prototype. I didn't think they didn't know I was going to use it in a build. They just thought I was like, okay, here's one. Try it out. And so after I finished the build video, they were like, oh yeah, we changed that. And I was like, but I did a build video with it. So I'm going to release the videos, and I think you guys will enjoy watching them. And I'm going to have a working Acrobat that I can like fly and tune and etc. But it's not going to be like a follow-along build tutorial. It is finished, though. The video is finished. Hitesh Care. Accelerometer on or off, which is good for race. Hitesh, I don't think racing pilots use the accelerometer at all. Okay, wait. Some firmware, including Betaflight 4.0 and 4.1, have where you'll pitch the quad forward on the starting block, and it'll hold the angle, and it'll just go when you're ready to go. You need the accelerometer for that. So other than that, though, I don't think it matters because you're not in auto level mode. The accelerometer isn't doing anything. Blue Flyer says, should I put Betaflight 4.1 on my Nazgul 5 when it arrives, or should I leave it stock? Blue Flyer, I found the Nazgul 5 to fly pretty well on stock settings. The only thing I definitely think you should change is they ship it with air mode off. Definitely turn air mode on, in my opinion. And they ship it with angle mode permanently active. So, like in the modes tab, angle mode is all the way across the screen, so you can't turn it off. So change that. Turn angle mode off and fly at acro mode. Those two things, though, I thought the Nazgul flew really well as it arose. However, it flew better on Betaflight 4.1. In my Nazgul Sedora video, I am going to include a Betaflight 4.1 config dump that you can paste in if you don't feel comfortable putting the commands in yourself. But yeah, I think that you don't have to upgrade the Nazgul 5. It flew pretty good. But if you do, it'll fly a little better. Let's see here. Jeff FPV, is there some hidden way to turn the audio recording on and off on the Caddx Turtle V2? Mine records no audio on the SD card. Does anybody know in the chat whether the Caddx Turtle V2 is supposed to record audio? Does it have a microphone? I mean, this is a dumb question. I know. I think it has a microphone, but we gotta ask these questions, don't we? So yeah, it has a microphone. Okay, right? This here is a microphone, clearly. So I mean, you can check the microphone and see if it's damaged in some way. Frankly, the audio is so crap, though. I mean, I use the audio sometimes just to sync up recordings. I'll just go clap, and that clap is good for a sync. But I don't know if you can turn it off. Wiccan FPV says, I just came in. Who won the bundle? Nobody won, Wiccan FPV. The giveaway doesn't end till midnight tonight. Midnight tonight. Tiny Cat, when will you announce the winner of the goggles? After midnight tonight, when the giveaway ends. You can still get into the giveaway. Where's the signal wire for the microphone? Asks Tintin FPV. I believe that this microphone only has 2 wires. There is no separate signal wire. I think it's like a passive microphone, so it doesn't need a separate power. It just is 2 wires. Now, License to Drive says, change the title to giveaway still going on, drawing at midnight. Everybody wants me to give things away. Yoshi says, give away your 3D printer. So, news. News of the week. Yeah, 3D printing? No, what's this? You can't see because it's out of focus. I didn't set up my GoPro for the close-up videos. This is a 3D printed XYZ cube. Yep, I 3D printed in PLA. I have a Sovol SVOO. I just brought up Instagram. To show you guys some photos of the 3D printer that I have on my Instagram, and this came up. That's my kid. Anyway, where is? How do I get to my? Is it here? Yeah, there we go. So this is the Sovol SVO1, and it is set up in my new base. No, stop. In my new basement studio. Hopefully to have a few more 3D printers there to try. It's also my laundry room. We're going to make it look nice. But thank you to Sovol. They sent this printer, and they're the first one to come in the mail and get going. So the very first thing I did was I printed the PLA practice cube, which is it's not anything. And it printed just fine. And the very next thing I did was I ordered a roll of TPU. And I'm like, I'm just going to print the exact same. I'm not even going to try. I'm just going to see what it does with TPU. Just throw it out. So, Happy Flying FPV is noticing the similarity between the Sovol and the Ender 3. Yeah, there are a lot of printers that are very similar to the Ender. As I'm learning, as I become more familiar. The Sovol, obviously the gantry is very similar to the Ender. The control here is very similar. It runs Merlin firmware. See, I'm learning all these terms. Very similar in many ways, but it is a direct drive extruder. That's one of the main differences between the Ender and the Sovol. It comes with a direct drive extruder. Has a few other things that it brings to the table, but that's probably the main one. So, Yoshi, you got to ask. Marlin. What did I say? Merlin. Marlin. Yeah. Curbspank says he's loving his TiVo Tornado. I got to tell you, I checked out the TiVo. No, that's the Tarantula. I checked out the Tarantula. I heard a couple people say, ooh, Tarantula, terrible. Stay away. Anybody got any ideas? Jeff FPV has the G-Tech 3D printer. My friend in Knoxville who does 3D printing also has a G-Tech. He said he spent about $125 on it, and it prints amazing. Obviously, a lot of his time went into it, but... Stefan Datzik wants to know about Ovonic batteries. Long story short, Stefan, Ovonic batteries are good. They're a good one. I'm really annoyed because the Sovol came pre-assembled, 95% pre-assembled. Basically, a half hour of putting screws in and it was ready to go. It looks like I will not be able to get an Ender 3 pre-assembled. I will have to spend like 10 hours putting it all together myself, which I'm not excited about, I have to tell you. Little Killer Gamer says the Tarantula is great if you put time into it. That's what I'm learning about 3D printers. Any of them can be good if you put enough time into them. The goal is to get it without putting the time into them, though. That's the thing. Let's see here. Skadoosh points out, if you're using rapid fire, you got to turn on the audio. That's for the DVR, but not the HD. Wrong Way put his Ender 3 together in about an hour. Interesting. Happy Flying. Maybe I could do it in under an hour. I doubt it. It took me like 30, 45 minutes to put the Sovol together, and it was pre-assembled. Is the Sovol already calibrated, Happy Flying FPV? I don't know what that means. What's calibrated? My name is, I don't know. Let's see here. Got another few super chats coming in. Philip Tanlak, thank you for 10 euros. I'm new to FPV and would like to upgrade from my low-end goggles. Are the HD3 still viable, or would you recommend to spend $100 more for the HDOs? Philip, the HD3s are a solid goggle, and they were my daily driver up until just about 6 weeks ago. So I would never steer you away from the HD3s. The question is, how much are you going to spend on them? If you can find HD3s for $300, do not hesitate, buy them immediately. If you got HD3s for $350 or ish dollars, still maybe a good deal, but at that you can get, how much are HDOs? HDOs now are $450. But with HDO2s out at $500, I think the HDOs have to come down. I don't know why anyone would buy an HDO for $450 when for $50 more you could have an HDO2. So I anticipate that the HDOs will probably come down. I would guess around $400. So in my mind, the way it works is HD3s around $300, HDOs around $400, HDO2s around $500. Any of those, I think you're going to be happy with. Just ask yourself where your price point is. Each of those goggles is better than the other. You just have to decide if it's $100 more. So, also on that list has to be the SkyZone Sky 030, which at about $420, but with a module. All those Fat Sharks, you're going to spend another $50 to $150 on a module, depending on which one you buy. The SkyZone Sky 030s have an exceptional image, a very good image, and they have a built-in receiver. Not as good range as the Fat Sharks with the best modules, but again, that has to be on the list. Mega Krager, thanks for $2. What's the best frame for the HDLRC FD455 stack? I mean, what's the best frame for a given stack? I don't know. Frame? You put any stack you want in a frame. Oh, how about that? Is this a 20 millimeter stack? Here's the thing. A lot of flight controllers now are, a lot of frames now are coming with 20 millimeter holes. So even a full size, like a 5-inch frame, could run with a 20 millimeter stack. I guess what I would have to say is I actually really need to revamp this section of my site. The frame section, I'm actually working on transitioning my site from Squarespace over to WordPress. And so I'm not actually doing as many updates on the site because I know I'm going to do a transition soon. But here's freestyle frames. I mean, you can't go wrong with the Source 1. Does it have 20 millimeter holes though? I'm not sure that it does. The Rotor Riot CL1 has 20 millimeter holes. Reverb. It's kind of an open-ended conversation, to be honest with you. Frames are, there's always, oh, you guys can't. Oh, there you go. Now you can see. Yeah. I'm liking the Catalyst Banggood, although I'm not sure I would recommend it for a first-time build. I'm not actually sure the Banggood would take a 3-high stack. That's a good point. You're not going to want a low-deck frame with that HDLRC. You're going to want a full-size frame. Gaming is not a crime wants to know about my Beast class. I haven't seen anything about it in a while. Here's the thing. The Beast class is kind of like, it's kind of like if you owned a Ferrari, you wouldn't take it to the grocery store every day. I don't fly the Beast class very much because it's like if you want to just go out and rip a couple packs, you take it out on the weekend for a drive in the mountains and then you put it back in the garage. It's everything with the Beast class is so high stakes. So I have some ideas for videos I want to do with the Beast class, but I'm not like flying it every day freestyle. So So, yeah, two beast. Red Factory, thanks for €5. Redbeard the Pilot, thanks for $5. Redbeard, going back to the conversation about gimbal springs, says high spring tension is like high P gain. Too little to no D term on our gimbals. We need damping on our gimbals. Here's what I would like. The ultimate transmitter gimbal would be a transmitter gimbal with feedback motors. Okay? Think about this. If you had a transmitter gimbal with feedback motors, you could dial in the exact spring tension you want. You see? So you could have it build exactly the way you want. You could have a perfect smooth centering with no stop. You could do whatever you wanted. That would be pretty cool. It would be so expensive and no one would do it, but it would be pretty cool. Let's see here. Inscene92, thanks for £5. There's also, I think, Nick in the. I saw somebody in the pleb chat asking the same question. Can you tell us something about the RSSI LQ scaling when using the no aux channel on Crossfire? So here's the issue. I don't have an answer for you about it, but people have noticed that when you use the new feature in Betaflight 4.1, where Betaflight can read the RSSI and LQ values directly from the Crossfire system instead of using an aux channel, people have noticed that the values are different. Different than the Crossfire telemetry seems to show, and different than the aux channel seems to show. Ultimately, it's going to have to be the Betaflight devs and TBS who sort that out. The bottom line for me is that I don't care what the actual value is. All I care about is when am I going to fail safe. But if TBS says that an LQ of 80 is good, and you're seeing two different LQs, depending on how you get the number, then which is right? Unfortunately, I don't know the answer, but I can confirm for you that many people have raised this question. Ho Operator, thanks for $5. How about the Aomway Commander V2? Ho Operator, I've never been impressed with the Commander compared to the other offerings, but sometimes the Commander is an okay goggle. I just think there's better ones. But sometimes the Commander is on sale for like $220 or $200. If you get a Commander V2 for around $200 to $250, I think you could get a better goggle for $300, but the Commander V2 isn't a bad goggle. And in fact, the Commander V1 was one of the first decent priced goggles to really take a bite out of Fat Shark's hold on the market. A lot of people got the Commander V1 as their first goggle and are happy with it to this day. I feel like you can do better, but maybe not at that price point. Popular Mechanics in the Discord, thank you for being a patron. Who's my vote to take the DRL season? Or are you just staying loyal to Rotor Riot and say Vanover all the way? Popular Mechanics, I actually know the results of this DRL season, and so I'm not going to say who I'm hoping for or who I'm backing. I would hate for you guys to think that I would back Vanover just because I'm a Rotor Riot cast member. I mean, I would back... I'm my own person. I would back who I will tell you that going into the season, Vanover just... I mean, he's a hell of a pilot. So going into the season, I was like, well, he's going to give them boys a run for their money. Who am I hoping will win? Do I think Vanover will win? I have no comment about that. You're just going to have to wait and see. That's what I have to say about that. Okay. Spud Nick, thanks for $10 in the super chat. What's the difference between bounce back, prop wash, oscillations, and vibrations? Yeah, that's a tough one, Nick. I'm going to do my best to answer it. So bounce back is easy, Nick. Bounce back happens after a flip or roll. It happens after a fast move. It could happen maybe not after a full 360, maybe a 180, or maybe even a 90. But the point is that you do a sharp move. And the quad, instead of going boop, goes kind of overshoot and bounce back. Whoop. Okay? That's a bounce back. You often don't see bounce back in your goggles while you're flying because a lot of times it's fast enough you miss it and you don't see it until you're looking at the GoPro footage and you go, whoa, got some bounce back there. Prop oscillation is anytime there is a back and forth motion. It is a regular back and forth motion. That's an oscillation. So if you're looking at your quad as you're flying and the quad is kind of going like this, that's not oscillations. See, that's not a regular motion. But if you look at the footage and you see the horizon kind of going, that's an oscillation. Oscillations, there are various things that cause oscillations. One of the things that causes oscillations is excess P gain. If your P gain is too high, then as you raise throttle, the quad will go kind of like that. That's a little too high frequency, but I can't roll my tongue slow enough to make the frequency lower. P-term oscillations are usually middle or lower frequency than that. Prop wash oscillation specifically happens when the quad is moving backwards into its own dirty air. I remember the very, very first time, remember Boris B? You guys remember Boris? The inventor of Betaflight, pretty much? I mean, he was the original head of the project. Then obviously it's open source and so many people have contributed. I wouldn't want to attribute it just to him, but Boris explained to me what prop wash oscillation was and how he was working on something to help with it. And it was never occurred to me. I mean, at that time, our quads flew like shit all the time. So the fact that it was only when people like Boris started trying to make the quads fly much, much better that suddenly we all got concerned with prop wash oscillation, because that was like the last frontier of obvious things to fix. Anyway, so when the quad is moving backwards into its own prop wash, turbulent air comes off the props. And when the quad is moving forward, the props are supplied with clean, fresh air coming in, and it's moving away from its own turbulent air. But when the quad is sliding backwards into its own turbulent air, that turbulent air destabilizes it and you get prop wash oscillation. The two times you see prop wash oscillation most are when you have a sharp turn, like a sharp 180, and the quad is still sliding backwards, or when you do like a big split S and you're falling down. And it specifically happens when you raise the throttle. That's prop wash oscillation. Anyway. There you go. I'll give you one more, Nick, and then we'll move on. I could talk for hours about this question, but without video examples and audio examples, it's not actually as useful. Vibrations. Vibrations are when there is a mechanical vibration, a mechanical, usually higher frequency movement. I don't want to say oscillation because we already used that term. The key thing about vibrations is that it is not related to the PIDs. Basically, the motor is vibrating and it's shaking the camera. But the PIDs themselves aren't like interacting with that in any way. That's a vibration. Okay. Why? Ho operator, why would my quad just flip upside down when I start it up? Ho operator, you have asked one of the 3 most common questions in FPV. The quad flips over when you throttle up for one of 4 reasons, Ho operator. Number 1, you have a clockwise prop on a counterclockwise spinning motor. Number 2, your flight controller is not aligned correctly. Your flight controller is not facing forward and right side up, and your board alignment is not right in the configuration tab. If you installed your flight controller facing forward and right side up, then the board alignment makes it think is not right. Anyway, number 3, the motors are spinning the wrong direction. For example, you set the flight controller to have reversed motors, but you didn't actually reverse the motors in BL Heli. Or you just accidentally have a motor spinning the wrong way. And number 4, the motors are not connected to the right motor output. So Betaflight expects motor number 1 to be the back right motor, but in your case, motor number 1 is the front right motor. Those 4 things. Wow. Okay. Well, we got another super chat. Red Factory. Thank you, Red Factory, for 100 euros. That is, I think last week the biggest one was $200. The big super chat. I really appreciate it. Let me read it out for 100 euros. Joshua, I love your work. Wow, $100 and 100 euros and a compliment. You helped the FPV community and me at my beginnings years ago so much, so here's my way to say thank you. I'm a guy from Germany who's building quads for newcomers, and I like the color red. Thank you, Red Factory. That's a very generous donation. I really appreciate it. Werner Viewick, by the way, I don't have an explicit policy about Patreon, Discord access, etc., but anybody who donated 100 euros, if you want to, I don't know, if you're not already a patron and you want to get in the Discord, like hit me up, or like if there's something I can do for you. Like I help everybody, but if somebody just walked in off the street and threw $100 at me, I would probably try to help them a little more. So if there's anything I can do for you, let me know. Werner Viewick, thank you for 70 ZAR. I do freestyle from sometimes over a kilometer. Thinking of trying iNav for full return to home on a 6-inch. Any advice? Yeah, Werner, look at the supported flight controllers for iNav. I think that the Matic flight controllers and the Holybro Kakute flight controllers are two that support iNav. You're going to want to make sure you get one with SDA SCL inputs for a compass, and a built-in barometer is nice. iNav wants all those sensors, and I think that's a fine idea. iNav isn't going to fly as well as Betaflight, but it will have full return to home, and that's something Betaflight doesn't have. Tom wants me to let everybody know that RPM filtering for F3 boards is out, and it flies great. Tom, that must be the performance builds. When Betaflight 4.1 came out, they dropped support for F3 processors, but a few people reshuffled the features of Betaflight, took a bunch of stuff out, and got it working. If you have an F3 processor and you need Betaflight on it, Betaflight 4.1, where are those, Tom? Where are those custom builds? Throw me a link so I can put it in the chat. License to Drive says, does your Crossfire module clip into your T16? Okay, mine sits in the T16, but it doesn't clip into place. License to Drive, I'm very disappointed to hear you say that because I have the same problem. I swear to God, I only just noticed this like this week. So when you insert it, it doesn't clip. It seems like it's clipped in. You hear it? Here, so I put it in. It seems like it's clipped in, but if you actually like pull at the top of it, oh, now it's clipped in. So what I had to do, License to Drive, is if you push firmly on the clips right here, I got one of them to clip in, but not the other. I don't know if that's an issue with their mold or what, but I can confirm I have that same situation. MC's Creations wants to know, can I use RPM filters on brushed motors? Brushed micros really benefit from RPM filtering, but you cannot use RPM filters on brushed motors because normal brushless ESCs know the RPM of the motor and can report the RPM back to the flight controller. Brushed motors don't have that characteristic. They cannot report the RPM. So you cannot use RPM filters with brushed motors. Thank you, Tom. Tom, let me throw this link. If you have an F3... If you have an F3 processor, MC's Creations, it was a joke, but some people have asked. If you have an F3 flight controller and you want to try out RPM filters with Betaflight 4.1, there is a link to UAV Tech's new video about getting that done. License to Drive, don't expect to get any satisfaction from TBS on this. That's not a slam against TBS, but if you went to TBS and said, hey, the Crossfire module doesn't fit into the T16, what are they going to say? They're going to say the module is fine, the T16 is effed up. And then they're going to look at you and go, want to buy a Tango? It fits great in the Tango. And then they're going to like wave bye-bye, bye-bye. Should have bought our radio. Well, maybe they won't do that. But yeah, they're not gonna. You don't bring it to TBS tech support saying that a Chinese radio. Although to be fair, I do think TBS actually sells the T16, which is kind of hilarious. Oh yeah, look, they're the first hit. They're the first hit. So it says, yeah, So maybe they'll help you since they sell it. I think it's really hilarious that TBS sells the Jumper T16 because TBS is all like, we hate cloning. No one better clone us. Free Sky, you cloned the R9 from our TBS. You're a bad cloner and we're original. And then Jumper T6 Jumper comes along and Free Sky goes, Jumper, you're cloning our radio. And TBS is like, hey, Jumper, no, you're not. We also hate free. It's just like when Jumper comes along and TBS hates Free Sky, so TBS gets Jumper. And here's the thing. I think both arguments are BS. If you look at an R9 receiver and a Crossfire receiver, oh my God, yes, they are about the same dimensions. But they both, the layout, the electrical layout is not in any way the same. Yes, they are both a 900 megahertz long distance link. Firmware wise, they're different. The processor is different. So many things are different about them. But TBS goes, the R9 is a clone. I mean, there are some vague similarities. I wouldn't call it a clone. But then the Jumper T16 comes out and it is using the open source X10 firmware that is open source that they have every right to use. And Free Sky goes, yeah, you're cloning. You're stealing our firmware. And TBS is like, no, we're good with this. That's not cloning. Okay. You see what I'm getting at? Which here's the bottom line. I'm going to tell you this. Now, let me let you in on a little secret. When it comes down to it, everybody in this hobby and in life, everybody in business is mostly just about making money and staying in business. I'm not saying that no one has principles. I'm just saying that when a company like TBS says cloning is bad, people tend to hear it as being 100% based on principles. TBS hates cloning. But it's like 30% based on principles and 70% based on what's good for their business. Free Sky did not steal JR. They purchased and licensed them. That's an old story that isn't true. The X9D is based on the JR molds, but they purchased the molds. Some people say that the person who sold the molds to Free Sky stole them and didn't have the right to sell them. I don't know if that's true or not, but they didn't just steal the molds. Keith Slitter. That's how he says he pronounced it. Just replaced the battery lead to his Whoop. Negative lead had char burn marks on it. Needless to say, it has more power now. What happened to cause the lead to char? Two things I can think of, Keith. You could have short-circuited it and burnt it. Or it had a bad solder joint and it overheated. But I think it would melt before it burned. I think you should have had a short circuit at some point. Maybe there's some moisture got on it. Cyberdrone FPV says, accidentally mounted BLHeli32 4-in-1 ESC upside down, so I've remapped the motor wires to the flight controller. Any drawbacks? No drawbacks at all. Just remember that you did it. If you remap the wires, remember that you moved the wires. And if you remap the motors in the flight controller, just remember that you did it so that when you upgrade or something, you don't accidentally lose it. Slider? Keith Slider. That makes more sense, Keith. What do I think about the China Hobby Line 4S? They are in a massive sale. China Hobby Line have always been decent batteries, especially when they go on sale for 16, 17 bucks. Buy the shit out of them. Buy as many as you can afford. They're fine. Especially when they're on when China Hobby Line are 22 bucks, I'm like, well, they're competitive. But when they're on sale for like 16 bucks, buy as many as you want. Let's see here. What do we got? We're looking at a failsafe. Oh, let's look at this one from Leo Leo over on the Discord. Thank you for being a patron, Leo. If you guys want to get access to my Discord server, you can do that by becoming a patron for as little as $2 a month or more if you think I earned it. You can join the Discord and hang out with all these wonderful people and occasionally even me. I joke about that. I'm on there every day, but not as much as I kind of wish I would. My style of messaging is kind of drive-by. Like I come by and I answer all the questions in this room and then I'm on to the next one. And then I make another pass through, but it's hard to actually have a conversation. Leo says, I flew my newest quad for the first time today and it fell down. Sounds like it restarted midair. Let's listen to this video. Let me make sure you guys also have audio. Hang on. There we go. Check the audio level here. It's still a little loud, I think. Okay. There's the moment where everything went wrong. And we need Ron Howard's voice to come on. Or Morgan Freeman. That was when he knew. Okay, so here's the first thing I notice. When a quadcopter goes into failsafe, usually there will be about a half a second of control lockout before it goes into failsafe. So it'll go, okay? We don't see that here. We don't see about a half a second of control lockout. The motors will, they'll freeze up. The quad will not tumble. It will not fall. Just whatever it was doing, it'll do it for about a half a second, and then it'll fall. So to me, at first, this doesn't feel like a failsafe. Okay, so we heard just there, just barely over the wind. We can hear. I want to go back and try and listen to that again, and see if I can hear the full tones or what. Let's try again. Hang on. Nope. So I don't hear do-do-doot, do-doot. I just hear do-doot. And to me, that says that the flight controller power cycled, but the ESC did not. So that's my analysis of this situation. Ghost Branch FPV in the Discord is saying, it sounds to me like that's a failsafe. Ghost Branch, in a failsafe, I wouldn't expect to hear the doot-doot. I wouldn't expect the ESC to lose the throttle signal if it was a failsafe. The motors would just start up again if you rearmed after a failsafe. So I don't think this is a failsafe for those two reasons. We didn't see the quad lock out. And we hear the doot-doot. That doot-doot tells me that the ESC lost the throttle signal from the flight controller. So either the ESC, and if the signal wire had come disconnected, then as soon as the signal came back, we would expect the ESC to start up again. I think the flight controller lost power. Spida FPV says, interesting that it maintained attitude while falling. Spida FPV, there is an interesting phenomena. The props windmilling will actually keep the quad relatively flat. Sometimes the quad will spin depending on exactly how it enters the fall. I actually saw a video a long time ago of a guy who was attempting to create a quad that when it fail-safed, it would sort of self-land. It would self-right, and then through the drag of the props would stay right side up and land flat. I don't know whatever came of that, but that's an interesting phenomena, but not actually an unusual one. Stinkerton says, wouldn't he know if it was a restart from the FPV feed? That's a good question. Leo, did the quad? Let me ask him in the chat as well. What did you see in the DVR, Leo? Let's see what he says. Redbeard points out he was doing a pretty big punch out. He could have browned out the flight controller. Maybe. No. It wouldn't arm. What did you see in the goggles right as it happened? Let's see what Leo says. Ion FPV wants to know if it's better to pre-order the HDO2s or wait till they're in stores. Ion FPV, if you can spare the money, I don't want, I've only had my HDO2s for about 2 weeks now. I don't want to like promise you that there's nothing wrong with them or that you will love them, but they're really good, and I don't see any deal breakers. If you have $500 and you want to buy an analog goggle, I think go for it with the HDO2s. And you know, if there's any problem with them, like a defect, you know Fat Shark will have your back, so you're not going to get screwed that way. The optics are versatile. The faceplate is even adjustable in the width, the curvature. It has those little inserts. It's hard to imagine what a deal breaker would be that would make you regret put. Here's the thing. If you put the $500 down for the HDO2s today, and then next week, like Orca is like, well, we have the new upgraded Orca, then you'll wish you hadn't. But I feel like it's a fairly safe bet. Leo, did you lose OSD? Did the screen go to static? That's the question, Leo. Leo, you keep answering not quite the question that I'm asking. In the goggles, did it go black or static? That's the question. That's the question. I had the same situation. I have an electric... This is a random story. I have an electric gate opener. At the end of my driveway, we have a gate, and we have an electric gate opener, so we don't have to get out of the car when we drive in and out. And it's been having a problem. And I got on tech support with the company that makes the gate opener. And the guy said, is the gate open or closed? And I said, I open it or close it. Just let me know what you want. He said, is it open or closed right now? And I was like, oh my God, I'm doing the thing. The thing where tech support asks you a question and you don't answer the damn question. You just tell them, you know, whatever you think is relevant. Leo says, no video problems, no low RSSI warning. Leo, I still... So we know that the VTX and the flight controller didn't... the camera didn't shut down. So if we assume that the VTX and the flight controller are if we assume that the VTX and the camera are powered from the flight controller, then the fact that the camera and VTX didn't shut down means the flight controller kept power. But it could still be a signal wire problem between the FC and the ESC then. If the VTX and the camera are powered from VBAT, it's still probably soldered to the flight controller. Yeah, you could have had a problem with the 5-volt regulator on the flight controller, which caused the flight controller to brown out, but not the VTX. Keith Slider says, will 5G put the nail in the coffin for analog? Keith, people are excited about 5G cellular for FPV. 5G cellular has the promise of delivering gigabytes per second or whatever, lots and lots of bandwidth at low latency. The problem is that 5G will only deliver those performances in very, very high density areas. The range of a 5G base station is very small. So as far as I can tell, you're not going to be out in the middle of the nowhere getting whatever 20 gig or whatever fast low latency connections with 5G. If there was a nationwide 5G rollout, then 5G has the technical capability of having enough bandwidth and low latency to be used for real-time piloting. I think we're a long time from seeing that happen though. Let's see here. Ron Curry points out the video still goes through the flight controller. Yeah, but the video will go through the flight controller. It's just going through the chip. Even if the flight controller is powered down, video will still pass through. So that's not an indication of anything. It wouldn't arm afterwards. If it's refusing to arm, that does tend to point toward failsafe, but I would want to know what the arming status code was that was preventing it from arming. I mean, if it came up with a failsafe warning, then that tells us it failsafed, period. Everything else is secondary. If it says failsafe in the OSD, then it definitely failsafed. I mean, that's definitive. Aaron Alexander, you are not as clever as you think, my friend. Nice try. Aaron Alexander asked me to shout out his brother for his birthday. His brother's name starts with Nick and ends with a word that would get me in trouble if I said it on the stream. Nice try, Aaron. Well played, sir. Aaron Alexander is now banned from the channel. Josh, I have no battery voltage in my DJI, just reading NA. Why? DC, you need to connect the gray and the white wire from the DJI Air unit to a UART TX and RX pad on your flight controller. And then you need to go to the ports tab and enable the MSP protocol for that UART. That's how the flight controller communicates VBAT to the air unit. And you have not done some part of that. Here's the thing, going back to this failsafe, I know we keep going back to it, but I think it's a really interesting troubleshoot. If the OSD says failsafe, then 100% you had a failsafe. But the fact that we heard doot doot, the ESC doesn't do that when you failsafe. So something else is going on. For example, did the 5-volt regulator on the flight controller brown out, which caused the receiver and the flight controller to power cycle, but not the VTX and the camera because they're powered from VBAT? That would cause both a failsafe and a doot doot. We got some House MD analysis going on here. Somebody points out, I said it will be a long time. I said I don't think we're anywhere close to having nationwide 5G rollout, but I also said it'll be a long time before we have high-def FPV. No, I didn't. Be careful. People always are mischaracterizing what I said in this video. They're like, it's this video. This is the video we're talking about. Why high-definition digital FPV is nearly impossible. What did I say in that video? Well, I'm not going to make you watch 8 minutes and 52 seconds of me talking. But people are pointing to this video and they say, "Ha-ha, Joshua! Now that DJ is out, you don't sound so smart anymore, do you? Ha-ha!" That's pretty much how they sound to me. And I actually have a pinned reply for anybody. Okay, so first of all, let me zoom this in a little bit. When I said high definition FPV is not going to happen, that's a line that's in the thumbnail. Not going to happen is a line from the movie Mean Girls. I'm not going to play it because I'll get copyright struck. But in the movie, there's a character who is trying to make a new slang word happen. The new slang word is fetch. And she keeps saying fetch. And she's like, she wants everybody to, oh, that's so fetch. And this other girl is basically a real B word. And she's like, stop trying to make fetch happen. Fetch isn't going to happen. And just shits all over her enthusiasm. So in that video, when I said high definition digital FPV is not going to happen, what I meant was there's digital HD is like the new slang word. And it's not a given that it's not going to happen. But I realized that by telling the truth about the difficulties of digital HD, I was kind of shitting all over the enthusiasm of people who are excited about it. And I kind of wanted to nod to that in a humorous way. That I was like, stop trying to make digital HD happen. It's not going to happen. But at no point in that video, what did I say it's impossible. I said, here are the challenges that need to be overcome in order to make it work. And it's going to be challenging. DJI overcame some, but not all of those challenges. There you go. Corey Guy put Emu Flight on his Wizard X220 and it's super smooth. But a front flip and crash seemed to reset the ESCs and made the startup sound. Well, that tells you it lost power somehow. If you crashed it, you know, I'd be looking at the wiring. Yep. Are we ever going to get higher than 6S lipos in the future, Jojo 4? Jojo, I mean, people are using 8S, 10S, 12S now. You just run 2 lipos in series. The challenge is finding mostly ESCs that will run off of that. As soon as you go above 6S, life gets more complicated. You need an ESC that'll run off it, and you need a regulator for your flight controller, your VTX, and everything else, because none of that stuff is rated for higher than 6S. So it's just, the question is it worth it? And for a typical 5-inch mini quad, it's just not worth it. It's debatable whether 6S is worth it for a 5-inch mini quad. Unless you're doing like Beast class, X class stuff, really high performance stuff, the benefits of the higher voltage just do not outweigh the complexity. Chris E says, was just pointing out, you never know what's just around the corner. No, that's true, Chris. And I hope you didn't think I was picking on you. I get a lot of comments from a lot of people, and I think it's funny to kind of play them up. 5G is coming. The people I talk to who know things about the cellular industry say that because the cellular companies play it up, how awesome it's going to be. They don't play up the fact that you need a much higher density of base stations with 5G network. Because of the frequency used by 5G, it doesn't penetrate and it doesn't propagate as well. So in order to get the same coverage out of 5G that you do out of 4G, you just need way more base stations. So the people I talk to who are in touch with the cellular industry say that for the foreseeable future, what we're going to get is 5G base stations on existing, or 5G radios on existing towers, which will create a sort of zone of 5G coverage outdoors, but not very much indoors. And then that will hopefully roll out from there. But I'm not making it up when I say that 5G, ubiquitous 5G coverage is years away. That's just the projections of the cellular industry, at least as far as I know. And rural 5G, and again, anybody in the chat who is in the cellular industry or keeps up with it, rural 5G is not even on the roadmap. That's my understanding. Sasha Cruz says, yeah, they're cutting down trees in my area because the trees block the 5G signal too much. So they're literally cutting trees down just to get more coverage. Anyway, could 5G be used for FPV? Yes, but will it? These are the problems that must be overcome. Coach FPV in the Discord. Thank you, Coach, for being a patron. A motor died on my Tiny Hawk. I swapped it out, and now it flies like crap. Put a different motor on. You swap the motor, now it flies like crap. Take the motor off, put a different one on. I mean, that's the first thing to do. Let's see here. Looking for more. Spartan FPV wants to know my favorite race frame. I don't know, Spartan, because I don't race much. So, like, my favorite race frame, I don't feel like that's a very informed opinion. I'll tell you, my favorite race frame is not the X-Hover Vanover, because that guy's a real jerk. He really is. He's so talented and charismatic, charming, skilled. Forget him. I got to tell you, my favorite is the Catalyst Machine Works America. The first time I saw, and by the way, I'm not suggesting you run out and buy this. It's I don't know, but I love what they did here. It's so clever. Let me get a picture up. Can I have a picture? No. Can I have a picture? Please? There we go. What they've done here is the flight controller, the VTX, and the camera all go in the canopy. The ESC and the motors go in the base. And simply by unplugging the ESC from the flight controller, you can swap the canopy out. So you could change from 4S to 6S. Or you could just have 10 spare canopies and just swap your base out if you break a motor. You don't need to. For racing, this is so clever. I'm a big fan of this just because I like the design. It flies really good too. But I'm a big fan of it, that design. Oop, where are we at? There we are. Can I create my own frame? No. I just don't feel like when I look at a flight controller, I go, here's the things I would change about it. But when I look at a frame, I go, wow, that's pretty good. I just don't feel like I have a lot to offer to frame design. So I mean, people would buy it, but until I feel like I have something original to deliver, I just don't feel like making my own frame is the way to go. Is it safe to spray paint props? I mean, I don't guess that they would lose balance. I'm not sure what the point of spray painting the props would be, though. I mean, you just break them. And then, I mean, maybe for some kind of a special exhibition, I guess you could probably spray paint them. It will add weight, but it's probably pretty even. Let's see here. Oh, stop. Oh, my God. I went back. No, Vanover, don't... the chat is now crapping all over Vanover. Vanover is great. I love him. He's great. He's actually a sincerely nice person. It's like if you met a wrestler, right? A pro wrestler. They go on TV and they talk smack, and then you meet them and they're the nicest guys. Vanover also talks smack in real life, don't get me wrong, but he's fundamentally a good guy. If you ever met him, he would not be a jerk to you. And you know, don't worry about him. I don't want anybody taking anything I said. If you dislike him for your own reasons, I'm not gonna that's between you and him. But don't take anything any little smack talk I throw on my channel as sincere. What about H7 flight controllers, asks Ron Curry. H7 is the next fastest processor in the STM line after F7. The problem is that an H7, just based on the price of the chip, an H7 flight controller is going to be about $5 more expensive at retail than an F7, all else being equal. The H7 runs a lot faster, it has a lot more memory, and it has a lot of UARTs. But the question is, are you going to pay $5 for that today? Now, if you look at what Dominic Clifton over at SP Racing is doing, his SP Racing H7 flight controller, it's like $70, but it has so much more. He's taken that H7 chip and he's added a bunch of functionality to his flight controller that literally nobody else has. For example, it can play audio into your earpiece that represents how well the PIDs are working. So you can PID tune with audio. It can load firmware off the SD card and flash itself in the field just by putting in a different... So you could have iNav on one SD card and Betaflight on the other and flash between them in the field by loading a different SD card. These are a few of the things that he's done with the power of the H7 chip. But somewhere out there, there's a flight controller that went from F7 to H7, and all they did was they just put a new chip on it and charge you $5 more. I'm not sure I see the point of that today. However, I mean, right now we see F3s are gone, F4s are struggling. In the next year, we'll probably see the F4 be end of life by Betaflight. And the F7 certainly got a year left on it. So if you buy an H7 today, are you future-proofing? I don't think you're getting a lot by buying an H7 today, unless you go with something like the SP Racing H7, which has a whole bunch of other functionality. Rick M says, there's an F10 flight controller. What's the point? Rick, this is the Strix binary F10. The F10 is an F7 processor. Why'd they call it an F10? Because it has an F7 and an F3. It's a Helio board with an F3 coprocessor. So it's not an F10. There's no such thing as an F10. The next thing after an F7 is an H7. There is no F10. Maybe you were joking, and if I missed the joke, no big deal, Rick, but yeah. Trill says, would you recommend the Elmway V1 since they're on sale? The Elmway V1 goggle right now is on sale on Banggood for, I think, $170. At that price, I don't think I can argue against it. The Elmway V1 is not a perfect goggle, but many people have purchased it as their first goggle, and some of them still use it even to this day. At a price of $170, I feel like the Elmway V1 is worth buying if that's your price point. So Jojo says, how is the Binary F10 in stock? Yeah, so the Binary F10 was developed by Ready Made RC in partnership with Helio. And then shortly after that, Helio went out of business. How is it in stock? I think that they got another batch manufactured. I don't think this was just like found in the back of a warehouse. I think they have, and it's had new life breathed into it by Emu Flight. So Emu Flight is developing a Helio target. So now that there's Helio got dropped, but Emu Flight is supporting it, and the Binary F10 is, you can still keep using it if you prefer. Popular Mechanics says, how do the HDO2s switch between 16.9 and 4.3? Could it be accidentally switched, or is it in submenus? Popular Mechanics, the HDO2 switches by pressing this button here. You press it once and it brings up the menu. You press it again and it switches. So you would need to accidentally press that button twice. There's not much chance of that happening. I've literally never hit that button by accident while flying in all the time I've been flying Fat Sharks. So let's see here. Wait a minute, DJ Pop. The Commander V1S, the Commander V2 V1S is on sale for $170. That's a steal. The Commander V1 for $170, you could talk me into it. But if it's the Commander V2 for $170, that's really a steal. Javier Molina, you have a question on Patreon? Did I get to your question, Javier? Where'd you post it? Where'd you post your question, Javier? Is it in the messages? I don't see you there, buddy. Is it in the community posts? There's a zillion places where this stuff gets posted. No, I don't see your question, Javier. Sorry, man. We tried. Mystery79 says, how does DB work? Is negative DB a good thing? Mystery, the way you're talking about RSSI, the way that RSSI DB works is it starts at like negative 29, negative 20, negative 30, and it goes down from there. So the top of the DB scale is close to 0, basically. And then as its signal gets weaker, so like you might see your RSSI at negative 20, and that's like super high. And you might see your RSSI at negative 70, and that's like super low. Okay? But DBM are usually negative. Well, that's not. When you're looking at RSSI, DBM is negative most of the time. What's the best low-priced freestyle frame? Sean Esper. Sean, there are a couple ones that I can recommend. The Rotor Riot CL1 is solid. The TBS Source one is solid. One of the ones that I just got in the mail, and so it's fresh on my mind, is the Xylo Freakstyle. Okay. I'll forgive you the name. I understand marketing is a thing. This is the Xylo Freakstyle. This is the slammed version. I'm a big fan of how they have this this little bump out here to protect the camera. I think that's pretty clever. And it's only $40. So any of those are good. Oh, Rocket. Rocket, let's see. I think this is your question. Rocket in the Discord, thanks for being a patron, Rocket, says, I'm having some issues with my quad. It's the first time it's been on the bench in a while. I'm getting progressively worsening gray screen in the goggles, but the OSD is fine. Okay, that points to your camera. Gray lasts 5 seconds, then video comes back. Since I'm getting OSD connection, then the VTX is fine. That is correct. So what I would do is I would replace your camera at that point. Maybe it's the wiring, but probably gray screen, I think, is probably the camera is having some issues. So start with replacing the camera and see if that fixes it. Then finally today, I just got a bad RX error when arming, which caused the FC to restart. That's weird because bad RX shouldn't cause the FC to restart. That means your oh, I see. So bad RX means the flight controller powered up and the arm switch was in the arm position. The number one way that bad RX happens is if you are armed and then the flight controller power cycles. And when it comes back, the switch is still in the arm position and you'll get bad RX. So this is telling me that your flight controller is losing power. But I don't think the camera and the flight controller issues are related. Since the flight controller is having an issue with bad RX and losing power, maybe replace the flight controller first. Check the wiring with the flight controller, but you said you did that, so. Mike FPV in the Discord. Thank you for being a patron, Mike. New F7 flight controller and old BLHeli-S. So there's some things that go together. Should I move to BLHeli-32? Mike, if your BLHeli-S ESCs are working for you, just keep using them. BLHeli-32 ESCs have some features that make it easier to solve certain problems. Like the BLHeli-32 motor PWM frequency is a great way to handle mid-throttle oscillations. But if you're not having any of those problems, and BLHeli-32 ESCs can play startup music. Mario Power Up Mushroom Sound when you boot up. I like that. But if you're happy with your BLHeli-S ESCs, just keep using them. You can even use the JESC firmware to do RPM filtering in Betaflight. So, no, BLHeli-S is fine if that's what you've got. Buying new ESCs, I would probably lean towards BLHeli-32 personally. JWWFPV in the Discord says, I have a brand new 6-inch build using the Holybro HDV stack. On the maiden flight, when doing my first snap roll, I got a death roll. What can I explore? JWW, I want to know what happened when you death rolled. What did your DVR video do? Did it go to static? Did it go black? Did your video stay solid? Did you hear any sound of the flight controller rebooting? These are all the questions I want to ask. Also, I would want to know if you're using the DJI controller or you're using like a third-party controller like Crossfire. These are all questions we can address. If you want to put that in the Discord, I'll try and come back around to this again. What's the best oil for lubricating brushless motor bearings? Ramon Garciano. Ramon, I got to tell you, I don't oil my bearings. I talk to guys who are like big into motor bearings. And what I've heard is that simply dripping some oil on the bearings doesn't really work. Like the oil doesn't really get into the bearings. It just kind of sits on the shroud or whatever. That the people who are serious about oiling their bearings, they'll take the bearings out, they'll soak them overnight in like a plastic bag with the oil. And that's how to really oil the bearings well. I'm just repeating what I've been told. Because again, I don't do any of this stuff. Here's the thing. Number one, brushless motor bearings come from the factory pre-lubricated. And the lube that is in there is not an oil, but it's like a high-speed grease. And when you oil the bearings, it can wash out the grease. Again, this is just what I've been told. I have not verified any of this, but I hear this from like motor manufacturers and so forth. And so if you ever oil your bearings, you now have to keep re-oiling them because grease stays in and stays. Oil sort of washes out. Once you oil them, you're going to need to keep oiling. The other thing is that the lifespan of quadcopter motor bearings is pretty small. they get trashed to the point where by the time you might think about oiling them, you kind of might just as well put new freaking bearings in. So I never oil my bearings. If I think my bearings are bad, I just put new bearings in. It's about, okay, it's not cheap. It's like if you want to get premium bearings, like then you're going to be spending about $2 a pop. So $4 a motor. But that's my thought about that. Drone Racer asks, are ceramic bearings worth it? Drone Racer, there were some schizo motors with ceramic bearings from Lumineer. Ceramic bearings are definitely smoother than steel bearings, but they are less resistant to shock damage. They can shatter. You'd have to ask people who owned the schizo motors how that worked out for them. Let's get some super chats real quick. In the super chats, KK gives $23.99 PLN and says thanks for sharing your knowledge. Jack Bison, thanks for $20. Any input on a good 6-inch prop for smoothness and low-end performance? I want it for close to the ground flying. Jack, I am a big fan of the butter cutter from Get FPV for 6-inch. 6-inch props are tricky. Like, you probably wouldn't go wrong going with a gem fan or an HQ, but getting balance out of 6-inch props is really tricky. And there are some of them that are kind of bad. I've always had good luck with the butter cutters. They're very high pitch, but something about the shape means they kind of don't act like you would expect a high pitch prop to act. And I'm 99% sure they make a two blade version of the butter cutter. Let me just check that. Hello, butter cutter 6-inch. There we go. Well, apparently they don't. For real? Alrighty. Is it the gate breaker then? I know I've flown a 6-inch. How about we just go to props? Propellers. Manufacturer, no. Size, 6-inch. No, it's the gate breaker, 6. They don't, do they not have a butter cutter? No. Alright. It must have been these. These must be the ones. No. I swear they made a 2-blade. Well, anyway. There you go. Tom Loreth wants to know if Ciati is going to stream today. Ciati is not streaming today. He's got a guest in town, and they're ripping up Atlanta. So. DC says, I also had the Kakute HDV with a brownout. Full video in the goggles, presumably DJI gig. The first thing I think when I hear about a DJI flight controller that's browning out is I think the regulator can't handle the air unit. But DC says that his video was solid. So, it wasn't that. Let's see. Still looking for an answer from JJJFPV about his death roll. Flyer FPV says, JB, do you think there's a big difference between the 46-degree field of view of the HDO2 compared with the 37 degrees of the HDO? Yeah, massive. Massive difference, Flyer. I think that there's something non-linear going on with field of view because, like, a 37-degree field of view is, like, small, and a 47-degree field of view, it feels much larger. And then a 57-degree field of view is, like, enormous. So I think there's some kind of, like, cosine thing going on, if that makes any sense to you. Where it, like, you see what I mean? 47 is giant compared to 37. And, like, 55 is freaking amazing compared to, I mean, almost too big. Yeah, it's a big difference. It's a big difference. Andreas Verla, thank you for 10 euros. Says, basically the most I know about FPV I learned from your videos. Thanks for your great work. Thank you, Andreas, for your support. GSXR Bike Life, thanks for $5. No question, just $5. Thank you. Thank you, guys. FPV Dragster wants to know, in the pleb chat, plebs, everybody in the pleb chat, say hi. What's the best antenna setup for diversity? Well, the best, I mean, there's a lot of good antennas out there. I guess who I have to call out today is Video Aerial Systems, VAS. How do I get this thing right side up? There we go. VAS, Video Aerial Systems. Right now, I've got the Crosshair Extreme and the VAS Ion V2 antenna. And I'm not going to say categorically that this is the best, but it's got to be up there with the best. Alex Grieve is a really smart guy and takes a lot of pride in the quality of his materials. See, here's the thing. I'm going to leave this up while I talk. Here's the thing. There's two parts of making a good antenna. One is having a good design. Okay? Now, you could be somebody out there who just looks at an antenna and clones it. And now you have a good antenna design. Alex Grieve he's the guy who brought circular polarized antennas to FPV. I'm not saying he's the only one, but he was one of the proponents. And I think if there is a single person you were to pick, it would be him. He thinks about antenna design and comes up with new designs that will work well for FPV. So the other part of having a good antenna is manufacturing. You can have a great design, but if you have shit manufacturing, half the antennas that come off the line won't perform right. And that's what you get when you buy a quality antenna from a higher priced manufacturer. And Video Aerial Systems is not the only one out there who makes good products, but since I've got his goggles on my his antennas on my goggles right this minute, we'll shout him out. He takes great pride in his manufacturing, and you know when you get an antenna, if you were to get 50 of his antennas and test them all, they would all test good, because that's what he does before he ships them. Whereas when you buy, I'm just going to pick on Foxeer. You buy a Foxeer Lollipop, do you think that they tested every single one of those antennas off the line? And most of them are probably fine. So good antenna setup. I like a crosshair and a circular polarized Omni. I think the VAS crosshair, the TrueRC XR crosshair is good. If you're concerned about size, the Luminaire Axie patch is okay, but I tend to stay away from patch antennas because they don't have the efficiency of a crosshair. And the crosshair will get better coverage with higher gain. Am I going to do an analog video RX shootout with Clearview 2.0 in it? Am I? Am I going to do that? Wait 1 second. Come on. Please load. Thank you. Am I going to do that? Okay. Hang on. Give me 1 second. Okay, I already did it. Here it is. Analog video shootout with Clearview 2.0 right here. Maybe I should change the title to read Clearview 2.0. Maybe that's going to help me get some clicks. 2.0. There we go. Yep, I already did it. Here's the video. Boom. Boom, son. There you go. You're welcome. I love it when people ask, when are you going to do this? And I'm like, I did that 3 months ago. Here's the link. Still no answer from JVV about his death roll. I guess we're going to have to move on. There we go. What's the difference between a crosshair and a patch? Asks DJ Pop. You know what? I will show you. I'm going to try. No, here we go. I was going to say I will pull my own antenna apart if I need to. Here is a Video Aerial Systems crosshair. I want you guys to take a look at how this antenna is made. Let me find the best picture I can. That's not the best picture I can find. Okay. Open image in new tab. This is a crosshair antenna, and what I want you to see is that a crosshair antenna is made up of a flat plane with, well, a crossed piece of wire, basically. And the spacing between these is and the length of the wires is related to the tuning. But in short, this is a crosshair. A patch antenna. A patch antenna This is a great version. A patch is, it's basically, what is an antenna? An antenna is just a piece of metal through which an electrical signal is passed that causes it to radiate RF energy. Okay, anytime you put an AC current into a conductive object, it acts as an antenna and it radiates energy. But the specific length and shape and alignment of these metallic elements are what makes an antenna have the performance that it does. So if you think about it, you could take a wire and you could drive the wire with an AC signal and it would act as an antenna and radiate. Or you could print a trace on a PCB. A printed trace is just a wire. It's just a printed wire. And that could also be an antenna. For example, here's a great example. Oh, you son of a... Here is a PCP Bluetooth antenna. This is a Bluetooth antenna. It is a piece of wire that radiates in a certain way, and it's a 2.4 gigahertz antenna. So a patch antenna is a PCB that has been printed so as to act as an antenna. But here's the thing. The patch antennas are great because nobody has to cut a little piece of wire to the exact right length and glue a little piece of wire in exactly the right orientation. You just print it, and you print them out by the thousands, and they're all exactly the same. But the dielectric of a PCB is, the propagation speed of the signal in the PCB causes it to be less efficient. In fact, Alex Grieve gave me some great verbiage about this. Hold on, I'm going to get you his exact words, but I'm not going to put the conversation on screen in case he said anything embarrassing. Alex said, hang on. He said, here's how it works. Antennas put out a signal that is measured in volts per meter. The larger the element, the more power they can absorb, but the element must also achieve resonance. So the size of the antenna has to be tuned to the frequency, basically. When a lossy substrate is used on your PCB, the velocity of propagation is only about 45 to 50%, which reduces the size by the same figure. Thus, the voltage seen by the antenna is only half. So basically, a PCB-based antenna, unless you pick the right substrate for the PCB, is much less efficient than like a wire-based antenna like a crosshair. And what Alex says is that when he designs, here's the thing though, PCB-based antennas are so much cheaper to make because you can print them. So when Alex designs so this crosshair, if we cut this open, we will see that there's a PCB in there instead of two little pieces of wire. But he uses a certain substrate with a higher propagation speed, and does other things. He uses what's called an air-gapped antenna, and basically the crosshair is going to be more efficient. So what that means is, if you have an 8 dB patch antenna, it's going to have a much narrower beam width for the same amount of gain. Whereas a crosshair is going to have a wider beam width for the same amount of gain. Basically, by having more efficiency, you're having more coverage for free, basically. Kyle K. Seriously, people were expecting that the live stream would have the drawing at the beginning. I don't know why you would expect that, Kyle K. In the terms and conditions, it says the cutoff for entries is midnight, November 3rd. Why would you expect that I would draw the winner before the cutoff for entries was done? In fact, I would be committing a very serious offense by denying people the chance to enter the giveaway, Kyle. I can't blame you if you didn't read the terms and conditions, though. I won't blame you for that. Many people didn't. But don't say people were expecting something that is impossible to actually deliver on. Can I please show you? Anyone, don't be mad. I understand if you're confused. I don't mind. I'm not upset. But if you're mad and you're accusing me of like betraying you somehow, can I please show you the terms and conditions, which are in the video description, in which I say, and this is required for all YouTube giveaways, that YouTube requires this for all giveaways to make sure that you're not being scummy. The official cutoff for entries is midnight, November 3rd, 2019. I have to put that because otherwise then, you know, I could extend it or something. So, if you were expecting me to do the drawing, I don't know. I didn't say I would do that, and I don't know why you would expect that. You just made that up in your mind. And then you were mad when you were disappointed. But that's all you, man. That's got nothing to do with me. License to drive? Oh. Should I be yelling at you, license to drive, instead of Kyle? I don't know who I'm yelling at. Sorry, Kyle. License to drive, you son of a... Anyway. Yeah. Anyway. Whoever, you know who you are. Sorry, Kyle. What do I think about the Mavic Mini? Eric Bailey. Here's the thing. The Mavic Mini is a DJI Mavic. It's under 250 grams and it costs $400. What's not to like? Oh, but it's when the Mavic Air came out, I thought to myself, well, the Mavic Air isn't 4K and it doesn't have the flight time and it lacks it doesn't have a 3-axis gimbal. DJI is like, fine. Here's the Mavic Mini. It does everything that the bigger ones do, and it's cheaper and smaller. So, like, the Mavic Mini just seems like a freaking win to me. I'm hoping to get a Mavic Mini. I was going to pull out my credit card, and then I thought I may as well ask to see if DJI will just give me one. Fingers crossed. Ghost Branch FPV in the Discord says... I have a question. When I have a quad connected to Betaflight Configurator, the CPU load in the status bar always shows around 2%. But when I go to the CLI and type tasks, the average load, max load for them are much higher, around 20%. How is that? Ghost Branch, I agree. The max load, here's how I explain the max load. I don't know if this is right, but this is what I tell myself. The max, the number you see at the bottom of the configurator is really an averaged over time. The max load may be like the peak load over a much shorter period of time. But I don't know why the average in tasks doesn't match what you see on the board. I just don't know. What I do know is that the people who care say to use the tasks command, not the configurator number. So if you're trying to decide if it's safe for you to fly with RPM filtering, use the CLI. I don't know why. It doesn't match, but that's what they say to do. I'm so glad you asked this. LDM9132 is asking about this is the antenna I was going to show you earlier in the stream, and I couldn't find the box with it in. This is a really cool antenna. You guys should check this out. It is the Orca Dual Shield Pro 5 gigahertz dual patch receiver. This is the antenna that the TBS Arum wanted to be. There's no MIMO BS. It's just 2 patch antennas stuck together. And they stick to the front of your goggles with VHB tape. That's it. This is not the right antenna for every situation. If you need to fly all around yourself at a distance, this isn't the right one for you. But a lot of people are using this antenna as their main antenna because it's easy to put in the goggles or in your backpack or in your case while leaving it on. It's a pretty clever little antenna. I will say, I just got done with a big spiel talking about why I prefer crosshair to patch antennas. These are patch antennas. And the big thing that patch antennas have going for them is their small size. If size is more of a concern than coverage and you don't want to take your antennas off, this is a pretty cool thing. You can get it from Race Day Quads. It is the ORT Dual Shield Pro antenna. I haven't tested it. He actually sent me some. I haven't tested them yet, but... there they are. You can decide for yourself. Let's see here. What do I think about dual lock for battery mounting? Jojo, dual lock is very effective for battery mounting. I've even seen cases where the quad crashed and the battery literally ripped out of its own cover. The cells were just sitting on the ground and the cover was still attached to the quad. The problem I have with dual lock is that you have to put it on all your batteries for it to work, and that's kind of annoying. I prefer to use like a grippy battery pad like Grip, along with a rubberized battery strap. That's what I say. And that works with any battery. You don't need any special gear. Blue Flyer in the Discord wants to know, earlier in the stream I talked about the Sedora versus the Nazgul. Blue Flyer asks, do you think the iFlight Sedora would have given a better experience if it would have been the 4S version? No, I don't. And here's why, Blue Flyer. The 4S Sedora comes with 2450 kV motors, and it's a heavier quad. So I think that the Sedora did as good as it could on 6S, but I feel like it's just a little heavy for 4S. But then again, the 6S battery is heavier than the 4S battery, so there's that. I think that maybe the 4S Sedora with the right props could have been just as good, but I just feel like the Nazgul was better set up out of the box. If you ordered the Nazgul 5 4S, I feel like that was a good decision. If you ordered the Sedora, then I feel like you definitely are going to need different props to make it the best of it. Okay. Alrighty, guys. Guess what? It is coming up on 3 p.m., and that is coming up on the end of the stream. I thank you guys all for coming out. Thank you to everybody who donated in the super chat. Joe Graves, FPV, thanks for $2. No news is the answer to your question. Now I've got all the super chats out of the way. I will be streaming again tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And also, hopefully tomorrow I'll post the winner of the goggles. But I'll probably do that before the live stream, so everybody will nobody has to stay up late just to find out if they won. 8 p.m. and Ciati will be streaming after me at 10 p.m. tomorrow, for those who are wondering. Coming up this week on the channel, I can tell you with some authority what's coming this week on the channel, because I have a whole bunch of videos actually just basically edited and just have to decide what I'm going to post. But things that are on deck include the Sedora and Nazgul review, the Acrobrat build, and other sort of educational content about the T16 and and Betaflight. So I also want to let you guys know I am going to be leaving town on Tuesday of this week. I have a very exciting trip coming up. I don't know if you guys know RC Test Flight. I'll tell you a little story. Since the Ciati's not streaming, I'll go long and I'll tell you guys a little story. A couple months ago, the Duke University RC Club had Drew and me come out and visit them. And when I got there, there was another guy in the car. They were picking us up from the airport, and he said, "I've never met any other YouTubers before." And I thought he was one of the Duke University guys, and he was saying he'd never met any YouTubers before. But actually, he was this guy, RC Test Flight, with 200,000 subscribers. Oh. And some of his videos have just millions of views. I actually have seen one of his videos a long, long time ago. It was this one, or maybe this one. This is his video with LEDs on drones. And I was like, oh, you're that guy. So we hung out with him for a weekend and hung out with the Duke team. Drew did a vlog about it if you want to go watch his vlog about it. But a month ago, before that, we had tried to shoot a Rotor Riot episode. I'm not gonna spoil what the episode was, but it was a challenge to get a drone to fly in an unusual way, and we failed at the challenge. We could not make the drone work, and we were really torn up about it because we put a lot of work into shooting the episode, but we were like, if we release this episode and then at the end of the video we're like, sorry, we failed, everyone will hate us, and that's not a good episode. So we just canned the episode. And when we met RC Test Flight, he does all these crazy builds. He did a solar plane that the plane would try to recharge its own batteries from solar panels and stay flying forever. He does all these crazy builds, and we said, "Can you help us with this crazy build?" And he said, "Sure. Come on out and visit me, and we'll try and make it work." So we're going out there to meet RC Test Flight, shoot content with him, finish this Rotor Riot episode. Hopefully, I'm leaving for that on Tuesday. And then I'm going to be in Orlando for a week through the 15th, actually, doing Rotor Riot stuff. So all of that is a long way to say some cool content is coming up. There'll probably be some stuff on my channel as well. Some cool content coming up with RC Test Flight and Rotorite, but there will also not be a live stream next weekend unless I can like find some way to do it from the road. So, okay, guys. That's going to do it for this stream, though. Thank you all for coming out. I will see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. I'm Joshua Bardwell. Happy flying, guys.